Goldylocks Productions broadcasts universal cosmic frequencies that unlock, awaken, and expand the consciousness of our worldwide viewers and listeners.
Goldylocks Productions presents the Live from Little Bear Sanctuary show with Christopher Vane. Enjoy topics such as the vegan lifestyle, sanctuary media highlights, and spotlighting new rescues.
Hey, happy Friday, friends. It is Friday, October 30th. It's Halloween weekend. Welcome to Live from Little Bear Sanctuary. I'm your host, Chris Vane. And tonight, I gotta tell everybody, tonight at 8 p.m. on Goldylocks Productions, we're all gonna be doing a spoof on Hollywood Squares. And, excuse me, it's going to be Halloween Squares. It should be a lot of fun. It's 8 p.m. tonight, same channel you find me, and I hope you guys will tune in. It should be a lot of fun. What do I got? I got some news today. Let's catch up with some news, and then I'm going to bring on my guest. If you're watching today, let me turn on people's comments so I can see who's here. There we go. All right. So if you're watching live, say hello. If this is your first time here, make sure you log in, get yourself a YouTube account, Facebook account, so you can interact with us, say hello, ask questions. We really enjoy the feedback. A lot of you guys have reached out to me on social media, and you've told me that you've been really enjoying the show, and I really appreciate that. We're 2 months in. I'm learning still, and if you've been following my journey, it's been quite interesting. If you want to catch any of our shows on demand, you can find us on YouTube and Periscope on the Goldylocks Productions network. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and like the episodes too. We'd love to see who's watching. Comment, like, subscribe. I got the stats for September, which was my first month. And correct me if I'm wrong, Tiffany. Tiffany's my producer. We had over 2,400 viewers for the month of September. I saw that number and I was like, wow, what a great month for my first couple of shows. Yeah, 2,400 viewers in our first month. So thank you guys. Super excited about that. Again, log in, say hello. We'd love to see who's here. Yeah, Tiffany says happy dance, definitely. A couple more announcements. We have a new director of communications. I'm really excited about this. As you guys know, my schedule has been insane these past couple of years. And I think when I decided to do this show, I kind of figured I needed extra help. And I'm one of those people who doesn't tend to reach out to others for help. So I'm really excited to have Kimberly Panzarella as our new director of communications. She is going to take over all of the sponsor and animal stuff, the social media stuff. You guys also might know her. She's on our board of directors. She's also the owner of FTLA Apparel, which, I always wear one of her shirts in the episodes. This is one of her shirts. And I'm saying, and I'm going to be conscious of it today because of my guest. So congratulations, Kim. I'm so happy you're helping us out. I'm really excited. We have, if you're already sponsoring an animal, we kind of been a little slow with getting those out. We just revamped the website. We've revamped all of our social media. If you haven't gotten an update yet, you should have. I know we sent out a lot of letters. I really appreciate everybody's patience and appreciate everybody's support. You guys have been really phenomenal. While Tiffany gets the video of the day together, I like to show a video every week of what I do in the morning here. And this morning I decided to share my little first morning out. I let Tater, and here it comes. This is what your doors look like when you live on a sanctuary, by the way. So, so this is Tater and Jimmy. Tater, you guys know Tater. Look at how big he's getting. Tater came here at 2 pounds, and he's almost 4 months old now, and he's probably at 40 pounds. He's getting big. This little girl right here in the front, this is Daisy. Daisy needs a sponsor, by the way, if anybody wants to sponsor her. And we just found out, probably within the last 2 weeks, that Daisy is pregnant. And we think that a wild boar got into the sanctuary because all of our boys are neutered. So she's very pregnant. And this is little Jimmy. If you'll notice his back, he's got scarring on his back. He was a pretty sad story. This little guy is Starsky. Jimmy, as you know, somebody poured a caustic substance on his back, and he was picked up by Lee County. His back was open from tail to head. Really sad story, but he's doing really well now, as you guys can see. This is Peppa. And this boy, this is one of my favorite boys here. This is Pig. Look at that smile, guys. If that smile doesn't put a smile on your face, then I don't know what will. So, and he loves to smile. I'm literally asking him to smile here. Look at those teeth. Look at that smile. So that was my morning. And I'm going to bring on my guest today is Brenden. I'm going to butcher your last name. Pronounce your last name for me.
You can just say Brenden from MasterTalk, but if I'm being honest, Chris, it's really hard to follow up after that.
All right. My guest today is Brenden from MasterTalk. He's the founder of MasterTalk. It's a YouTube channel that he started to help the world master the art of public speaking and communications. He coaches purpose-driven entrepreneurs on how to master their message and share their ideas with the world. You can find him on YouTube at Master Talks with the S, right? On Instagram, he's Master Your Talk, and his website is mastertalk.ca. Welcome, Brenden. Thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate you reaching out to me. You reached out to me via Matchmaker. If you don't know what that site is, it's a site that matches podcast guests with podcasters. Great resource for anybody who's thinking about doing this. You're in Montreal.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love Montreal. I used to go a couple times a year.
Awesome. Where are you based?
I'm in Florida. Yeah. Do they still have Hotel de la Montagne there?
Yeah, they do.
They do? That's where I used to stay.
I love that.
A lot of great memories of Montreal. We used to go I'm originally from New York, so we used to go a couple times a year. It's a lot of fun.
Very nice.
Yeah. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. So my name is Brenden. I'm the founder of MasterTalk. It's a YouTube channel I started to help people with their communication skills. And how I got started, Chris, so when I was in university, I used to do these things called case competitions. So think of it like professional sports, but for nerds. Well, other guys my age are kind of playing football or rugby or baseball, things I never really was into. I used the same competitive spirit and applied it to presentations. So in uni, I probably did hundreds of presentations, coached dozens of people on communication. So when I joined the corporate world, I kind of just asked myself, what do I do with my life now? How do I add more value to society? And I realized that a lot of the communication information on YouTube was really bad. So I started making videos in my mother's basement. One thing led to another, and here we are today.
Yeah. I've been watching your videos. I got to say they're really wonderful. It is great to find such a helpful resource on YouTube. Like you said, there's so much garbage on there. What made you want to share your videos with the world? What's about? Tell me about that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's more of a value thing, like in the sense of I never wanted to be on YouTube. And I thought that was for very wealthy people. I was like, I don't want to be a YouTuber. What is this thing? I don't want to be a part of this. I just want to be an executive at a company, make some money, have a great family, and then die, live the regular American / Canadian life. But one of my friends came out to me and he asked me this question that I didn't have a good answer to. And the question was, do you have time to coach everybody? Like if everybody stood in line, the people who need your help, and paid you $1,000 an hour, right, to coach, Would you have time to go through all of those people in your lifetime? The short answer is no. So when I understood that and I thought about people who had great ideas, like what you're doing with the sanctuary is honestly phenomenal and inspiring. So for the thousands of people like you, for the thousands of people who have cupcake recipes that they want to share with people, or a YouTube channel they want to share, who is being the bridge to those people and those ideas? That's when I realized I needed to be that person. So that was the inspiration. It's about, like you said, sometimes you just got to do things because it's the right thing to do.
True. I know one of my biggest challenges with public speaking or doing this video podcast is I literally I watch the videos back, and I cringe every time I say I say it a lot. I've been really trying to be more aware. It's a really hard thing for me, and I watch some of your videos about it. Is it for all of us? I give some helpful hints. I feel like this podcast is for me today. Forget everybody else. You're like my personal coach today. So
of course, that's what I hope to be for everybody. But yeah, exactly. Yep. So let's first understand, Chris. Why do we say filler words in the first place? The answer is simple. Whenever we forget what we want to say next, because this happens to all of us, including me, right? I'm not some genius, or I'm just a dude on a mattress in a basement. It's all good, right? The key is when we forget what we want to say, we use filler words to buy time. So let's say you ask me a question. You said, Brenden, what do you think about this? I would go, oh, right, this is what I'm trying to say. We use filler words to buy that space. But what the great speakers do, it's not smarter than us. They're not more unique. They're not special. The only thing they do is the space that they use to buy time to figure out what to say next, they replace it with nothing. Absolutely nothing. So that the effect is the same, but there's no filler words this time. So how do we fix that? How do we get better? There's a trick that I have that lets you get better at this really fast, but it's extremely uncomfortable. And the trick is called long stares. Essentially what you do is you go to somebody that you like, right, in your house or some place where you're around, and you just stare at somebody for 3 to 5 minutes, and you can blink, but you're not allowed to say anything. Most people can't do that. And let me explain why this matters. If you can do that for 3 to 5 minutes, when you go back to your 15-second, 20-second, or even 3-second pauses in your presentations, which is more natural, you're going to be a lot more comfortable in a conversation like this, in a presentation, to pause instead of saying ums and ahs. But if you're not comfortable pausing for very long periods of time, it's going to be much harder for you to do that.
Great advice. I'm going to start breathing more and pausing.
Right. And if I use an analogy with what you're doing at the sanctuary, it's a lot easier to manage one pig at the beginning and go, how do I do this thing? Like, I've never taken care of a pig before. And then now you're like, who cares? I could have 20 in this sanctuary. It's not a big deal because you started with that small thing first. Same analogy applies with public speaking. Don't get boggled down by, I got to focus on the 75 different tips on Brendan's channel. Instead, it's more about, okay, Brenden said that if I pause for 3 minutes, it's going to be easier for me to pause for 3 seconds. And if I can pause for 3 seconds, the number of filler words will go down dramatically. So let's start with that.
Sounds good. I'll try to do that more. Practice makes perfect, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You have recorded over 500 videos. Tell me about introverts versus extroverts. I know you're an extrovert. I've been watching your videos. I'm almost halfway through.
Wow.
I plan on watching them all. They're really phenomenal resources.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
No, seriously, they're phenomenal. It's really, it's given me a moment to pause and actually think about what I have to say to people. How important it is for me to present a show that people want to watch every Friday. It's an hour show every Friday. It's a huge commitment. And a lot of it, I think, is something I've inherently known just from life, and to hear it in your YouTube programs, it kind of just a lot of stuff reiterated with me on I'm an introvert, in case you didn't know. And you talk about introverts and you talk about extroverts, and you make a point of saying introverts are really good listeners, and it was a lot of, to hear it from your perspective. I really it helped me as an introvert. Want to yeah. It's helped me a lot with what I have to say, how I want to say it, and that I do bring value to my Friday shows. So you're an extrovert. You love to talk. Is that what brought you to all of this? I know you said you've done it in high school. Is this one of your? Would you say this is your passion?
Right. So let's kind of talk about the opposite case. I actually hated public speaking my whole life. Let me explain why. The reason is because, since you're very familiar with Montreal, I'll just educate everyone else who's listening. Montreal is one of the few cities in the world where most people in the city speak more than one language, because French is a required language within the city. So most people speak 3 languages, 2 languages. So when I was growing up in the city, well, my parents looked at me and asked me the obvious question, or rather statement: you need to learn French. So I got put into a French education system, which of course ended up being hugely beneficial to my life. But the process wasn't fun. Not only was I uncomfortable with presentations like most of us, but I had to present in a language I didn't even know.
Wow.
Right, so let's say you picture me in grade 1 as a 7-year-old. I'm looking at the crowd going, bonjour. And that was my life for the first decade of my education until I went to university and found a love for public speaking. So yeah, you're right. Even if I am extroverted, when it came to presentations anyways, for most of it, didn't matter if I was an extrovert. When you don't know the language, life is challenging. So I wasn't very good at public speaking growing up.
Yikes. I think most people are afraid of public speaking. And let's talk about podcasts, especially video podcasts versus sound podcasts. You talk about, should you fake it until you make it? Tell me about that.
Of course, happy to. No, the answer is definitely don't fake it till you make it. I hate that advice. But let me explain who it does apply to. It applies to people who love being somebody else as a career. Let's say you're somebody listening right now who's a professional actor. You're someone who likes to do theater. You're someone whose job, you take pleasure in playing other people's roles. Then fake it till you make it applies perfectly to you. But unfortunately for most of us, that's like 0.1 or 0.5, or like 1% of everyone else out there. Most people are uncomfortable being other people. We're uncomfortable trying to be other people that we're not. And that actually damages us emotionally. So when we apply that type of advice to public speaking, most of us give up. They're like, oh, I got to be fake. I got to be this other person. Let me just not practice the skill, which is not what I want for people. Or else I'm putting all this effort in these videos. No, I don't want you to just stop practicing. Let's find a better remedy. So what's the remedy? The remedy, like any skill, Chris, is celebrate the small wins over time. If I were to summarize public speaking and why it's challenging, is it's like juggling a bunch of balls at the same time, like 18 of them. Where you got to do eye contact, you got to not say any filler words, you got to be engaging, you got to do all these things at the same time. But when I started speaking, I definitely was not doing all those things at the same time. So the trick is you want to celebrate one ball at a time. Let's start with eye contact. Let's see if I can maintain my eye contact with Chris in the camera for a long period of time. That's it. If I get that right, I win. Next presentation. Okay, now I got the eye contact stuff right. How about we say 10% less filler words? Not 100%, not 75%, just 10%. And then we get better. 20%, 30%. Next thing, over and over again. And slowly, that confidence allows us to be incredible speakers. And I'll give you the easiest trick in the book that anybody can implement tomorrow. for any presentation. I call it the puzzle method. So public speaking is like a jigsaw puzzle, Chris. You know those 1,000-piece puzzles you kind of put together with your family? I guess now we're doing that more often since we can't really do anything else. Except maybe for you. You got a pretty cool life with the sanctuary and everything. But I guess for most of us, this doesn't apply. But if I asked you, Chris, let's say you were doing a puzzle, which pieces would you start with first and why?
I would start with the outer pieces because they're perfectly, they're a perfect line. So
right.
It gives those together.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. Right. So starting with the corner piece is the right way of thinking about puzzles. So the question we need to ask ourselves is, why don't we do that in presentations? We have a presentation, a podcast, some form of medium that we want to present to. But we start with the middle pieces first. We shove a bunch of content. We're like, what do I need to talk about? What do I need to talk about? Then we get to the presentation. We get to the last slide, and it sounds something like this. Thanks. That's probably 97%. This is an example of something that we can fix easily. Like the easy fixes, like celebrating the small wins versus fake it till you make it. Why do I think it's easy? It's easy because every presentation you tackle for the rest of your life, think of it like a jigsaw puzzle. Start with the corners first. Do the introduction 50 times, not 3 times, not 5 times, 50 times. It'll only take you an hour. It won't take you that long. Same thing with the conclusion. What's a great movie with a terrible ending? A terrible movie. Yeah. Same thing. 50 times. You'll have practiced 2 hours. Not long. Not 2 days here. Not 2 hours. And in those 2 hours, just doing those corner pieces first, those edges, will convince you very quickly that you actually are an incredible communicator. And once that mindset piece is in, you win. You're going to go to the stars.
Great advice. Great advice. Good morning, Elizabeth. Elizabeth just logged in. I missed you last week, Elizabeth. Thanks for tuning in today. Are you going to be there tonight? Let's see if she answers.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I hope you'll be there tonight, Brenden.
What's happening today? Oh, right, the news that you're saying.
The Hollywood Squares.
Yeah.
So I have a lot. It's funny when I've been reaching out to what's a good word? I don't want to say bigger celebrities. I'm at the point now where I'm reaching out to more known people in the vegan community and life in general, people who I normally would never approach.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been interesting, and I'm amazed how some of them are really, very open to doing the show. I always feel like, oh gosh, I've only been doing this 2 months. What are they going to think? Or they'd have never heard of my show. They've never heard of me. They're going to probably check out some of my horrible moments on previous shows. And I, though I've learned the worst thing they can say is no, right? But give me some helpful hints on approaching some of these bigger people. I know, you listen to some pretty amazing podcasts with some really amazing, well-known people. How would you approach something like that? What would you, other than just ask?
Absolutely. So there's actually a secret technique to this. It's pretty easy.
Oh, good.
Here's the secret to podcast, especially if you plan on doing this for a long time, which seems to be the case. All you need is one famous person to say yes. Why do I think that? Because the second you get somebody famous on, every other pitch that you make includes that person. So let's say you reach out to vegan person number 2, who's very well known in the community. You don't pitch them and say, "Hey, Chris, I'm Chris. I have a show, and can you join?" No, you're like, "No, we'd love to have you on. We actually had your friend," because all the top people know each other, right? Yep. All the top people. That's just standard in any industry. And then you just say, "Well, actually, I had the founder of MasterTalk on. Hopefully, I've reached the level where you could use me as a helping." And then you go, same thing. And I've had this amazing vegan celebrity on. Then what this does is it creates status with your show. And then very quickly, 1 turns into 2, which turns into 4, which turns into 8. That's one part. All you need is one famous person to say yes. which means you message 100. I would be very surprised that if you message 100 celebrities in that space, none of them say yes. I would be very shocked. Right? It wouldn't take you that long. I'm pretty sure you get at least one yes. Second part of that, which is equally important, is how do you 10x the guest experience? So what you want to do, and you're doing this very well with me, by the way, Chris. So it's like real-time feedback in the sense that you've clearly done a lot of homework on me. You know, you've been watching a lot of my videos. You point out all the tips, and I'm like, wow, okay, this guy's like really well researched. But now we want to push that to the next level, especially not for me, but for the people in your community where you know what they're you know their stuff, right? You know what their diets are, you know everything. So you can ask them very specific, granular questions that only you would be able to ask them, that I wouldn't be able to, even if I did a lot of research on them. So what happens is you're showing how thoughtful you are to that guest, and they're going to say, wow, Chris, you are such a thoughtful, amazing. See, we already know that you are that, but the guest doesn't know that yet because they don't know you, right? So I know that now, so like it's cool, but they don't. So then, and then at the end of the conversation, they go, wow, Chris, like you're such an incredible guy. And you can ask questions. I'm giving like the secrets here. You can ask questions like, how can I make this the best interview that you ever had? What is one question that you always wanted to answer, Laura, right? That you never got to answer yet? That no interview has asked. I would love the privilege to ask you. This is the secret sauce. Because after Laura, I'm just using Laura as an example. Say Laura has an amazing experience. And you say, hey, Laura, I'm trying to create this movement, try and increase the brand for the sanctuary, get more people to sponsor animals. It's not about you. It's about your movement. Do you know anyone else in your circle that would love to come on? I would love to give them this platform. Laura's going to say, well, Chris, here's the 7 people that I know in this space. Go meet them. That's the secret.
Great. Thank you. That's awesome.
Of course. I got you,
man. You talk about karaoke. I cringe when I think about karaoke. And if I'm ever in Montreal, I'm going to look you up and we're going to do karaoke. Seriously.
That's what I'm talking about.
Why karaoke?
That's like asking why sanctuary. So if I right? In the same way, this is fascinating, right? In the same way you think me karaokeing in 8 different languages is so bizarre, but not bizarre, but rather cool in a weird way. I think that's a better word of using. I think it's really cool in a weird way that you got like 17 pigs that you wake up to, and I'm just like, what? Why would people do that? So, but I'm happy to share me. So what happened was a lot of my friends who come from an Asian background, the culture is very different there. So when they go out, they don't really go to a bar, right, or like get drinks and like talk. What they do instead is they use the same hours and they go sing songs. Not very well, particularly. They still order the same food and the same stuff as everyone else, but the experience is very different. So when I was in college, a lot of my friends just happened to be from that South Asian descent. So kind of just said, hey man, you want to hang out tonight? I was like, yeah, what are you guys going to a bar or something? They're like, no, we're going to go karaoke. And I just went, what? Wait, did I get that correctly? You're gonna go sing? Like, yeah, I should come. So obviously I said no. I was like, who wants to do that? But then they asked me for the 5th time, the 6th time, and I just said, what the heck? I mean, they keep saying the food's really, and the food was really good at this karaoke place. I don't know what they're doing with the food there, but it's really good. But anyways, I get there, and they start singing songs, they start switching language. I don't know, I just fell in love with it. I was like, this is so much fun. I do the same thing with dancing, by the way. I go to clubs and I dance for 7 hours straight. I don't drink, by the way, for those who are listening, but I just love going out there and just busting out some moves. So yeah, I'm pretty crazy, I guess.
Yeah. That was going to be my next question about the dance, but you already
Right. But I guess to make this educational.
This guy's like dancing, he does karaoke. And of course, we got to touch on theater too, because I mean, theater is definitely a big part of what I do, what you do. Touch on theater a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm from New York City, so I love the theater. I've seen every Broadway play. I've off Broadway, so even I love like those one-man productions where somebody can get up and do a show for an hour and a half by themselves, and it's what an incredible. I mean, I wish I could do that.
That's amazing, man. No, thanks for sharing. So I guess just to make this educational for the group, let me kind of talk a bit about what I learned from karaoke that applies to presentation. So the big learning there, after the fact, obviously, I wasn't a genius that kind of figured this out beforehand. It was more when I reflected. Karaoke is one of the few environments in the world that gives you permission to be loud. So let's say you're an introvert. In most social settings, you're not really being told that you should speak louder. So let's say you're at an event. Your general intuition is to say, let me just listen to everyone else and make them feel good and give them space. But you don't really want to be loud yourself. So you're not practicing your vocal cords enough for public speaking. But in karaoke, especially if you do it with me, I don't hog the mic. I hate mic hoggers. My goal is to make sure everyone is singing, especially the quietest person in the room. So I would get you.
Yeah.
You know, so at the beginning you'll be like, "Oh, Brent, I don't want to do this," but 3 hours into it, you're like yelling, right? But in this social setting, nobody they actually want you to yell. They don't go, "Hey, Chris, you should stop yelling." No, they go, "Keep going, like keep going," because there's like soundproof. Like it's very well set up at these karaoke places, so you have permission to be loud. That's one thing. Second thing with karaoke is very important. Is it's the best place I found, like the best way to practice pronouncing words. So let's say, so in my case, I can karaoke in 8 different languages, but I speak 3. So when I sing in Korean, I obviously have no clue what I'm saying. But what happens is because I'm able to pronounce words. Donc quand je parle en français, so notice I just switched to French. I have no accent when I switch languages. That's practice. So what happens is when you practice languages you don't know, and you go back to the languages you do know, your pronunciation in those languages gets better a lot quicker. And this is a lot more fun than waking up every day and doing this. I like oranges. I like apples. Like, you won't be able to do that for very long. You'll get bored after a couple of days. So karaoke has been the funnest and most entertaining way to practice your pronunciation, how you pronounce words very quickly and efficiently. That's one. For dance, so many things I learned from dance, but I think the biggest thing is the courage that you have to get on a dance floor. Once again, I'm not a good dancer, I'm not a good singer, I'm a great communicator, but when it comes to those two things, definitely not. Usually we got to go bring some hip-hop dance here, but this is definitely not my alley. But because I'm insane on the dance floor, I do some weird stuff, I can transition that confidence into my presentations and everything else that I do. Because I get bust to move and not care what everyone else thinks for 7 hours. When it comes to my presentation, my podcast appearances, I can speak very confidently and with a lot of energy because I don't really mind what other people think of me because I've already done the harder thing. That's why I recommend dance. Even if you're just dancing a little bit, right? You don't need to be good at this thing, just a little bit. Then over time, you could be a bit crazy like me. So now for theater. Lots of things I learned from theater. So once again, I'm not a theater expert. So once again, that's the key, right? I'm not an expert in any of these things. It's pulling from different industries and how to apply it with us. So for me, the biggest lesson is to learn to fall in love with disaster. Once took an improv class once, a couple of times actually. And what they did that was so interesting is at the end of the session, it was like a free session, they would hold a show for the public, for people to watch. And these people who are in these workshops weren't doing these for like years or a couple of months. It was their first or second session. And they would take volunteers from the class to do the show. And what shocked me, I never raised my hand, but most people would just be like, yeah, I want to be a part of the show. I was like, why would you? This is crazy. Like, this is coming from the presentation guy. I was like, why would you ever do improv without practicing? And that was the beauty of what they taught me was in presentations and in life, you're going to be thrown a bunch of left-hand hooks. A bunch of things that you didn't anticipate. Your slides might not work. They might even forget that you have a presentation to give at this time. You might be late for the presentation, traffic, anything can happen. But if you practice and learn to fall in love with that disaster, you'll be a master of it.
Great. Awesome. Yeah, I I love improv. I've never done it. I've always wanted to, sign up. But definitely weird times now. You have to dance in your house, right?
Oh yeah, it sucks. I used to love dancing at clubs, but it's okay. I dance at home with my sister.
Yeah, you dance at home. Karaoke, what do you do? Is it like Zoom karaoke?
No, I just sing alone. It's kind of sad, but maybe I should do a Zoom karaoke.
Oh my goodness. So I guess it's all about storytelling, right?
Oh, was that a question?
That's the question. It's all about storytelling. Whether you're doing a speech, whether you're screaming karaoke. It's all about telling a story, right?
Right. But the one caveat I like to add here is storytelling is very complex. I don't know why people always go, a lot of experts out there, not you, Chris, but people go, you need to master storytelling. But we're just looking at them saying, what does that even mean, man? Right? That's like saying you should all have an animal sanctuary. But you're looking at those people and like, what does that mean? That means different things for different people. Some people have commitments. You have to figure. Same thing with storytelling. Let's start with the basics. Why is storytelling difficult? The reason it's difficult is because it's vague. Doesn't mean watching Disney movies all the time and taking notes. Doesn't mean watching Brenden give talks on his podcast and seeing what they can take from them. No. Storytelling is complex. That's why the first step to storytelling is focusing on the foundational skills first. If you have a great story, Chris, and you communicate it like, yeah, so once upon a time, you're just like, whoa, like, no, I don't want to hear this story. So start with the basics. Eye contact, ums and ahs, filler words. You can still practice your stories. Maybe write them out first and then talk at them. Say, okay, once upon a time, and then get better with the foundational elements of public speaking. And then you'll start to build the intuition for good storytelling. It took me years to get to a place now where I'm kind of crazy and explaining my ideas in a thought-provoking way. At least I hope I am anyways. But the idea is it's a journey to get there. You start at the beginning by saying, okay, I have this animal sanctuary. What are people saying about it? What is it about this idea that I have that people love? That's why the first tip I have to storytelling is not practicing storytelling. It's have long dinner conversations with the people who are watching you. So the people who are watching you now, Chris, have you spoken to each of those individual people one-on-one for an hour? Most people don't take that time. But it's that time that allows you to figure out what your idea is, and more importantly, why the idea even matters in the first place. Because all of us as content creators, we have this issue at the beginning, Chris, which is, I have this idea and I think it's stupid. And I'm not an exception to this rule. When I started MasterTalk, I thought it was the dumbest idea on earth. Who in the world is going to listen to public speaking content? What? Everyone thinks public speaking is a bad and boring thing. So I thought it was dumb. But when I had like 14 subscribers, I knew those 14 people. They were my friends. And they wouldn't lie to me. Some of them would. Not all of them. People who weren't were like, hey, Brenden, I'm watching all your videos. And I would say, tell me why. Like, why are you? Because it was in my basement with the phone, right? They go, well, Brenden, this tip, and they started like talking about it. I was like, oh, these people actually are watching my videos. And that's when I understood where the impact was coming from. And that's how I built stories around those topics.
Awesome. Yeah, I really do enjoy your videos. I feel we're like, we're all on a journey together. We're all learning. And it's nice to find a resource that's free. Everything right now is about, well, how can I make money on this? And, and it's great that you make this available. I mean, I'm loving it. So that's all that matters, right?
Right. And just to push on this, because you're right here. So it's an amazing example is I'm as much as the student as I am the teacher. For example, Chris, when I started the YouTube channel, you're the last person I thought that would watch my videos. I didn't even know there was such a thing as Animal Sanctuary until like Tiger King, but they all do it wrong, right? I know you do it in the right way, so I don't want to compare you to them, but you get what I mean in the sense of like, I never would have thought like somebody who is the owner of an animal sanctuary is using my videos to communicate their ideas better to the world. So it's adding an extra layer to my own thing. I was like, wow, I guess the impact I'm making is bigger than I thought. So it's the same thing. And in the same way you're learning from me, learn from the other people. And this is true for everybody. Learn for everyone who's listening to you. And then your ideas will mold slowly over time and get better.
Awesome. Wilma says, oh, hey, Wilma, good morning. Wilma's one of our volunteers here. She says, awesome. start with merengue, I guess.
For the record, I actually don't have because people ask me that sometimes. They're like, are you a dancer? Like, what types of... No. I just suck, people. Like, I just do random... Like, I just do this, literally, on the screen. I just do this. And, like, I just do, really bad stuff, so... Just dance, whatever.
That stuff is good, though. It's all about having fun. It's all about having fun.
That's the key.
So I really think, and the reason I had you on today is because truly I do like your stuff. I know a lot of people in the sanctuary world, the vegan world, and a lot of them are thinking about doing podcasts. They're afraid to do public speaking. They're afraid they don't have anything to say that anybody wants to listen to. You know, all the usual stuff. I've actually asked fellow sanctuary people, and I won't name names because you know who you are, to be on the show, and they've actually said they're too nervous to be on the show. And I'm thinking, wow, I mean, like I see it as an opportunity to get your sanctuary or your vegan product to the world. And even, you know, I get nervous doing every show, and I'm always surprised when somebody says no.
Right. What you just said there, Chris, by the way, just to make this clear for the audience, was gold. Let me explain why. You said it so clearly. You said, hey, like, I don't get it. Like, why don't people come on the show? Can give them an opportunity. The reason you think that, which is right, by the way, I'm not saying it's wrong. The reason why you think that versus everyone else, the difference is not intelligence. The difference is perception. Everyone who said no to the show, their perception of public speaking, and it's not their fault, it's the way the education system has taught us for it to be. Because remember, all the presentations we get in our lives are mandatory. We don't wake up one morning and say, hey, Chris, you want to get breakfast and then present all day? Nobody says that.
Right? Like no one ever.
Like no one, except for me, because I was like crazy. I was a part of this weird professional sports team for nerds. But for most people in the world, that's not the case. But if you think about 13-year-old Julia, who's an introvert but loves theater, how does that make sense? So we asked Julia, we go, Julia, what is it about theater that you like about it? So, because our thinking is that Julia wouldn't like theater because she doesn't like public speaking. But she would look at you while she's like, I don't know, munching a snack or something and go, well, what do you mean, Brenden, Chris? Theater is great. It gives me an opportunity to share an idea, to share something that people will love, to entertain people. We go, oh, I see. The perception of public speaking is different for her and you versus everyone else. So the question, the $1 million question of today is, how do we flip the switch? How do we get people to see public speaking as a way to make a difference, as a way to share an idea like we're doing right now? Right? We're doing this to benefit other people versus, oh, I don't want to do this thing. It's a chore. No. The difference is the following. Your fear always needs to lose to the message. The fear will always be there. Okay, even for me. I mean, I started MasterTalk when I was 22, Chris. Started coaching executives and CEOs of people like yourself when I was 23. I was very insecure when I started. What made the difference? The difference was if fear and the message were in a boxing match together, the fear always loses. Because the message is so important. I needed to share my videos and my message with people who were younger than me that couldn't afford me, or people that were older than me that couldn't afford. I need to be that person despite my fear. That's why you need to make sure that the only way, and you need to realize rather, the way of overcoming your fear is for it to always lose against the message.
Yeah, I agree. So that's my, instead of being quiet, it's my so word. Tell me about Charity Water.
Absolutely. I love that. You've really done your homework. Well, this is amazing. So yeah, Charity Water is an organization that I support that helps people gain access to clean drinking water. But I think what's fascinating from a public speaking perspective is just the CEO himself. I think Scott Harrison, despite being a personal hero of mine, he's just a really smart dude. The way that he thinks about storytelling and branding and marketing, and how he's able to bring those insights with a very small budget, right? Because he's a nonprofit, and how he's able to use that budget in the most efficient way to tell stories and to get people involved with this cause. And I think his book, which is Thirst by Scott Harrison, that I recommend to anyone who wants to get better at branding and messaging, and I personally use all the lessons myself in everything that I do, works really well for the ideas you want to share with the world. So I highly recommend the read, and I encourage people to check it out.
I'm looking forward to reading it. I'm glad you put that up on your Instagram stuff. Tell people about Charity Water.
Yeah, of course. So I got involved with Scott a couple of years ago when his book launch first came out. And yeah, the goal and that Charity Water has is to live in a world where everybody has access to clean drinking water. You know what I find crazy about the world, Chris, is the issue with most problems that we're trying to solve is there's always disagreement on both sides. So let's say you think about gun violence, right, or gun legalization. Some people will have a point of view on something. Let's say, not to generalize, hardcore Republican would say, it's a First Amendment right, and there's nothing wrong with that. The other side of the coin is also true. Hardcore Democrat, we want to save more lives. But if you ask both of those people, hey, do you think everyone should have a clean drinking, glass of water to drink every day? Everyone's going to say yes. So that's why my philosophy in life, it's let's focus on the problems that we are passionate about, but also that everyone can agree on. Let's start in the middle. Why do we need to start at the edges? Unlike public speaking, start with the edges with public speaking. When it comes to problem solving, let's start in a place where everyone can agree on. Let's start in a place where everyone can say, I agree with this. There are some things we're going to disagree on in life, Chris, but at the end of the day, we share the same values. We probably listen to the same stuff. We probably share a lot of the same interests, because I'll definitely get you involved in karaoke sooner than later. And then building on that. So Charity Water is my attempt of saying, look, everyone, we're all going to have our differences, but water should be available to everybody. That's just a basic human right. Let's focus on that problem. Let's not focus on 1,000 different problems. Focus on that one problem. In the same way, my life is only focused on 2. Solve public speaking for the world, which is a big one, but it's the one I'll take ownership of. And the second one is get clean water to everybody. If I can solve those 2 problems in my lifetime, I think that's a life well lived. Ideally, I'll solve more, but just by focusing on that will probably take a lot of my time. And that's what I want for everybody. For you, it's the sanctuary. For somebody else who's listening, it's another idea. But the key is to focus on one instead of complaining about all of them. That's my solution.
Yeah, awesome. It's funny when I looked at Charity Water, and great organization. charitywater.org, I believe, is our website. I'm really looking forward to reading that book. And I think about, and I don't know, obviously I'm vegan, and I don't know if you've watched any vegan documentaries, or, a lot of the documentaries that deal with the world and saving the world. It's all about the amount of grain and water that's used to raise livestock. So much of that, it's almost, I should have looked up the statistics, but this just came to my head. The amount of water to make one hamburger is something like 14,000.
That's huge.
It's crazy. And I don't know enough about their organization, but I think that's a huge issue in the world. It's finally coming to light. Factory farming, the amount of land, the amount of water. I mean, it's decimating California. The wildfires. It's I think it's a huge problem. If we could just solve that or cut back from that, the water. I don't think we'd have such an issue with water. Anyway, that's my take on it.
I agree with what you said. Absolutely.
Are you vegan?
I'm not, but I respect people who are.
Okay. Well, that's good enough. Think about going vegan. Watch a good documentary. Any final thoughts, Brenden?
Absolutely. I would love to share my favorite quote with the world. My favorite quote is as follows: be insane or be the same. If you want to be like everyone else, that's totally fine. But if you made it 49 minutes into this conversation, you probably want to make a difference in the world. You probably want to make a change. So the only advice that matters is the following. If you want to do great things in life, the only path forward is to be insane. Don't you find it odd that a 22-year-old kid like me started a YouTube channel? Not on vlogging or pranks or comedy skits. That's the normal thing to do. But rather on executive communication tips. Then went on to coach those executives a year later, but also still lives in his mother's basement, is literally talking to you on a mattress that he sleeps on, doesn't own a car, doesn't plan on moving out of his parents' basement until he's 30, karaoke's in all these languages, dances alone, does all these clubbing, and loves Justin Bieber. How do any of these decisions make any sense at all? And that, my friends, is the point. When all of the decisions in your life make sense to the only person that matters, which is you, you're probably making the right decision.
Amen.
Absolutely. And that's my take.
Thank you for being on my show today. I'm really happy you reached out to me again. I love your YouTube. I'm going to be continuing to watch, and yeah, thanks for being on my show.
Likewise, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Have a great day.
You too, man.
Well, I enjoyed that. I hope everybody else did. Good morning, Linnell. How are you today? I'm going to start pausing now instead of saying the word and so. Let's see. What are we going to talk about now? I got a couple more announcements. Next week, my guest is going to be Shannon Blair. We're going to try for second round. Shannon, you better show up. Shannon is an animal activist. She was actually here at the sanctuary on Tuesday. I think it was on, pretty sure it was Tuesday. We went live on Jane Unchained on Facebook. It's a fun video. I actually posted it on our Little Bear Sanctuary Facebook, probably about 30 minutes. A lot of fun. And thank you, Shannon. You know, you've always been really helpful to the sanctuary. Shannon is also Vegan Evan's mom. Vegan Evan is look up Vegan Evan. If you don't know who Vegan Evan is, then you just don't know. All right. I got all my notes all over the place here. I thought I would take a minute today, because we haven't done vegan news in weeks. I found this really great article on 7 easy ways to transform your space into a chic vegan home. It's the fall. It's snowing in some places. I know Tiffany got snow today. She's in Connecticut. How crazy is that? I forget that there's snow around the world. Sorry, guys. My comments are all screwed up. Yeah, so I forget it snows around the world. And I've literally, since I'm stuck at home and I have some extra help now, which I'm excited about. If you missed the beginning of the show, we have a new director of communications, Kim Panzarella. And Kim is also, she's been one of our board members since the start. And she is the owner of FTLA Apparel, all my t-shirts, you can see my t-shirt today. We're super excited that she's on board. So now that I have all this extra free time, I finally got a chance to get some paint swatches to try in the house. See this yellow color behind me? This yellow color is throughout the entire house. Every single wall in my house is this yellow color. And it's the color of the outside of our house too. I've been staring at this yellow for 3 years. I can't look at it anymore. We didn't paint it yellow, it came yellow. So I finally got a chance to get some paint samples, and I've been doing little swatches all over the house, all over the outside of the house, the inside of the house. I finally found some colors I'm going to use, and now I just need the time to paint. So I'm excited that I had some time to do that. And yes, Elizabeth, yay, Kim, exactly. Kim, hi, Kim. And actually, Kim, I showed Kim the colors. She approves. We were discussing the outside of the color of outside of people's houses, and there should be a law against certain colors. But Kim, I always appreciate your input. So anyway, so I thought I'd talk today about, do I have enough time? I do have time. 7 easy ways to transform your space into a chic vegan home, since we're all sitting at home and we have so much to do. I printed out these 7 steps. I got this information from Veg News, great source for all kinds of vegan stuff. Let's see. Yeah, thank you, Tiffany. Bye, yellow. It's true. And Elizabeth said, if it wasn't for COVID, we couldn't have got a group to help you paint. Oh, that's a great idea. Oh my God, I could have a paint party. I'm sure you'd all be lining up for that. Anyway, so these 7 tips. Christine Cavateo is an interior designer and author of Manual Drafting for Interiors, and she practices cruelty-free and environmentally sustainable design from her studio in Boston. So these are 7 tips on how to transform your space into a chic vegan home. Number 1, create breathing room, especially if you have a small space. If you're stuck in a studio or small apartment, look on the bright side. Smaller dwellings require less energy and resources. She says, of course, that won't negate the fact that you feel like you're living in a shoebox, but coming from New York City, I can definitely relate to that. She said, to make your space more livable, ensure major circulation paths through your home to allow easy travel without feeling squeezed. She said, you shouldn't have to climb over anything or duck past anything if you're living in a small space. I live in a large space and I find myself having to crawl over things. I think the more space we have, the more crap we tend to build up. But I've definitely been cleaning stuff out. Another thing is make living greener easy. Dedicate counter or cabinet space in the kitchen for a compost bin that's conveniently located near the cutting board. Significantly cut plastic consumption by installing a rack for drying rinsed plastic wraps and bags near the sink for convenient reuse. That's a great idea. Invest in longevity. I'm all about longevity. We've got 5 dogs who destroy our couch. So every 6 months, Randy and I go to Habitat for Humanity and we have to buy a new couch. So she talks about, buy cruelty-free furnishings that will endure so you can spare the environment of additional waste. So I feel I'm sparing the environment by, going out to these places and, taking in a couch that would have otherwise gone in the garbage. But I wish I could have a nice couch that I didn't have to get rid of every 6 months. If you've been to my house, oh my God. Give something old a new life. Think about an easy to clean gleaming hardwood floor or table. Buy reclaimed wood from old buildings that have been fashioned into new furniture or flooring. The choice not only to save trees, but it also results in beautiful wood floors and rich color and a bold figure that's not seen in wood from immature trees. Pay attention to what is on the inside of soft goods. And she says, it's relatively easy to avoid animal hide upholstery or the Angora goat throw, but what about the environmentally harmful materials inside your sofa or cushions? And, it's funny, I've always looked at the labels on pillows, especially pillows, comforters, check out what's inside. You'd be surprised. A lot of it is animal feathers or just some kind of nasty filler. There's a lot of sustainable products out there now that are made from bamboo. Revive your space with a non-toxic paint, which is actually what we're looking into. I'm super excited about that. They're a lot more expensive, but a lot of these paints you're smelling the chemicals. It's bad for the environment. And the seventh one, be clear about your design and vegan values. Think about, when you're shopping for redesign, communicate your objective with the people you're buying from. And don't be afraid to ask those questions. Is it vegan? What's in this? You would be surprised how many fake leather products are actually just leather from a different animal, as opposed to your standard, your cow leather, or something more obvious like alligator or something. A lot of pieces made outside of the country or in other countries, they can use dog leather, for instance, and it'll say, it'll tell you on it that it's faux leather, but it's actually from a dog, and it happens a lot, believe it or not. So those are some tips for bringing in the winter more sustainably. It's 101. Thank you guys for tuning in today. I had a blast. Thank you, Brenden. You really gave me some great advice. If you want to check out Brenden, check out his YouTube. We have his bio listed. Check out Charity Water. I'm definitely looking forward to the Thirst book. And tonight at 8 p.m., we're doing Halloween Squares here on the Goldylocks Productions Network. I hope you guys will tune in. It's a take on Hollywood Squares, and it should be a lot of fun. And that's my show for today. Happy Friday, friends. I love you guys. And I'll see you guys tonight at 8 p.m. Bye, guys. Love you.
Don't want the fun to end? Grab more refreshments. Then head over to the Goldylocks Productions YouTube channel. With the huge selection of shows, the fun doesn't have to end.